Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to a new edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who happens to have a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, I'm so excited to introduce my guest for this evening, Miss Anderson Clayton. I'm going to pull her up because we only have one person today. There she is. Anderson assumed office as chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party on February 11, 2023, making history as the youngest chair of a state political party in U.S. history at the ripe old age of 25. She has since won a second 2-year term um, as party chair. Anderson grew up in Roxborough, North Carolina, and she is a proud graduate of Appalachian State University, and that was in 2019. Her first foray into politics began with her registering voters while a student at her university. You know what? I forgot to put the comment section on because I knew somebody was going to say something to us. Okay. Okay, and as a sophomore, Anderson was elected student body president and served from 2017 to 2018. After graduating college, she worked on the congressional campaign of Kathy Manning. She won. In the 2020 election cycle, she worked in Iowa as a field organizer for the presidential campaigns of both Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, and then for the Senate campaign for Amy McGrath of Kentucky. She won. After all of that hard work, she returned home to her native Roxborough, North Carolina, and was elected the chair of the Person County Democratic Party in 2021. In 2023, she won her first 2-year term as chair of the North Carolina Party, beating out the incumbent after a second round of voting. Under her effective leadership, Anderson has run candidates in all 50 North Carolina Senate districts and 118 out of 120 North Carolina House of Representatives in the 2024 election cycle. Welcome, Madam Chair Anderson Clayton, to the show.
Thank you so much, Pam, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having us on here tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Loretta. Hey, Dawn. I forgot to say Dawn. Hey, Amanda. Okay. So listen, Anderson, there's so much stuff. I've got a little surprise for you first, though. First thing, a little surprise for you. And I'm going to share my screen. And you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's that young lady on the screen? I'm back too far. Your first appearance on Good Morning America in May of 2023.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I literally took those pictures on the screen.
Oh.
And I was so excited. I was like, oh wow, she won, all that stuff. I was so proud of you. Listen, I'm a strong proponent of Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite Gen Zers is a young man and you probably know him, Greer Webb.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love Greer. He's so good.
Yes, Greer's been on the show several times, and he's one of my faves.
Oh.
And so when you won, I was so excited because I really, really am a proponent of young people being involved in the process. I'm so sick of people thinking, they can't do anything. They try to suck up all the oxygen in the room instead of share it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just very, very important to do. And when I saw you being the boss that you were, I said, oh, what? And I took pictures and I dug them up today. And I said, whenever I see you, I was going to show them to you. So there you go.
Thank you for that. I've got a lot longer hair now than I did a few years ago. And
yeah.
I think a lot of people look at me sometimes and be like, you've changed quite a bit in this job. And it's been exciting, I think, to just see how many people across the country have known us from the MSNBC and CNN and the places like that. National television honestly helped me find a lot of Democrats in North Carolina, which sounds a little crazy, I think. of our folks are watching national news, you know?
Absolutely. I see you all the time. All the time. I do. And I do. So let's get into this conversation, because this is a conversation. It's not an interview, it's a conversation. And what is going on? I am so sick of all of this gerrymandering in North Carolina. Bishop Barber calls it political violence. Mm-hmm. He literally, I saw that recently on social media where he was quoted as calling it political violence in our state. So this latest attempt is in District 1, trying to get rid of Don Davis's seat. He's a Democrat. What is the party doing to try to circumvent this injustice?
Well, and let's give like a little history lesson for folks. I don't know how many people know, the state of gerrymandering in North Carolina, what sort of started it, what happened, and North Carolina.
So I'm all for the history.
Well, and that's sort of, North Carolina has been under Republican state legislative leadership since 2010, right? We haven't had control of either chamber of the General Assembly since then. And what happened is that, we tried to use the other avenue of what we like to call the three branches of government and justice, right? Our judicial system, to be able to sue, to actually call our maps racially and partisan gerrymandered. And I say that because North Carolina has sort of been through a almost 10-year history of fighting in the courts and both in the state legislature against gerrymandered maps. And the sort of process that I want to take people through is that, in 2022, North Carolina had a Democratic state Supreme Court. And that state Supreme Court came in and they said, we are going to end this thing that we call partisan and racial gerrymandering. And gerrymandering, for those of you that don't know, right, it is basically when politicians are drawing the maps for themselves. They are not drawing the maps based on what an equal district should be able to look like. And so, it's where politicians are picking their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. And in 2022, our Democratic state Supreme Court said, actually, that's illegal, and we're not going to let you do it anymore. And so they ruled that partisan and racial gerrymandering was illegal, and they put it back to our actually Republican state legislature to redraw the state or the congressional maps for the state. And our Republican state legislature knew that because they were going to be held accountable from that Democratic judiciary, that they needed to draw fair maps. And so we had 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans that went to Congress in 2022 on our behalf as a state. Right. In the November election cycle of 2022, we lost control of the state Supreme Court. Justice Lucy Inman and Justice Sam Ervin, who were the Democrats that were running for re-election that year in 2022, had lost their seats. And Republicans came back in 2023 and re-gerrymandered North Carolina because the state Supreme Court that was now Republican dominated had gone back. If I've got any lawyers that are listening to this, they overturned a decision of the previous court. They ignored stare decisis, which you're not supposed to do. In a 200-year history of the North Carolina State Supreme Court, no one had ever seen anything like this. And Republicans went back and reversed that decision and made partisan and racial gerrymandering legal again. And so they took us, our Republican state legislature then said, okay, we've got the backing of our state judiciary now, so we can do whatever we want to do. And they gerrymandered us into a 10-4 minority in Congress. Now, fast forward to where we are now and why they specifically came in and started targeting Don Davis's district in CD1. So anybody who may be in northeastern North Carolina, or if you've got family and friends up there, Don Davis's district used to be all the way from Granville County to Pasquotank County. It spanned 22 counties across the eastern part of the state. And Republicans came in this year, and because our Senate Majority Leader, Phil Berger, finally had competition for the first time in his life in a primary for the Republican nomination for that state Senate seat. He's been in office for 26 years, by the way. As long as I have been alive, Phil Berger has been in the I don't know that anybody. I don't know anybody should be doing it that long. I don't know. I think maybe you got to go up a little bit, but he's been in the state Senate for as long as I've been alive. And truly, this man said, I'm going to call Donald Trump and I'm going to try to trade Donald Trump for a congressional seat for an endorsement. And so Donald Trump does not endorse Phil Berger, but yet Phil Berger still gave Donald Trump a congressional seat, or at least he's trying to. Don Davis is still going to put up a continuous fight in his district to make sure that he is still representing the people of Eastern North Carolina. And I think that what we're seeing right now is Republicans who just came in and gerrymandered the state again and took our 14 congressional seats and made it an 11-3 minority for the Democrats. And they may keep going, because what we're seeing right now at the federal level too, right, is Trump's Department of Justice challenging the VRA in Section 2 that's supposed to protect almost 19 rural Democrats that are in Congress right now from the South, most of them being rural Black Democrats that represent places in the South in Congress right now. And so we see Republicans take us to an even greater margin in Congress. And the thing that we're trying to do as a party to prevent back against that and to fight back against it is both short term and long term. Short term, it means that we have to sue until we can't anymore. And that means both in state court and in federal court. And the DCCC, along with the DNC and the NCDP, has already filed a lawsuit, an amicus brief to our previous lawsuit from the 2022 election cycle that we had already filed, and trying to make sure that we're fighting back against this. But we know that our courts right now are not friendly. And so since I started this job in 2023, we've made a concerted effort to take back our courts. And what that's looked like is, North Carolina had an amazing election cycle for the state last year. We did not win the federal election, right? We didn't have that, no. But it was something where we won a Supreme Court justice seat by 734 votes. And when you look at the fact that Chief Justice Sherry Beasley lost a seat in 2020 for the North Carolina State Supreme Court by 401 votes, right, Pam? I'm like,
yes, I know Sherry Beasley. Yeah,
no, every vote matters, right? And so, trying to ensure that we protect our fight for the Supreme Court looks like getting Anita Earls elected. 26, and we got to make sure that we fight for her just as hard as we did for Justice Riggs. And then in 2028, there are 3 seats on the North Carolina State Supreme Court that Republicans hold right now that we can take back and actually be able to reverse everything, partisan and racial gerrymandering in general. So that's a long story and a long way to explain it.
No, but all of it is kind of complicated. And it is complicated because some of the pieces that you said I didn't know about or whatever. And I certainly don't know everything because I try to read up on stuff, but it's so much. Much detail for sure. I want to switch a little bit and discuss when I was really listening to you talk about how you really wanted to make sure that Democrats focused on rural counties. You came from a rural county.
I live in one right now, baby.
Okay. Hey, more power to it. But
we're in Roxborough, North Carolina still.
All right. But see, here's the thing. So many people, I think the Democrats, and see, I'm a city girl. I'm from a native of Detroit, and from the big D, and now living in the little D. I call Durham the little D. And so my mindset is always cities or whatever. And then when you were the first person I heard to talk about why are we giving up and acting like we can't knock on every door and pursue people in rural communities and just give it over to the Republicans, because they're really voting against their best interests as far as healthcare and everything else. Yeah. So tell me how that's going and all that good stuff. Tell me all about it.
I mean, I think North Carolina, a lot of people, when they hear the word rural, they automatically assume white. And I'll be honest with you, Pam, in North Carolina, that's just not true. You have out of the 20 counties that are majority minority counties in North Carolina, one of them that you're sitting in right now in Durham, and another one that's in Mecklenburg County. 18 out of the 20 of those counties that are majority minority counties are rural counties. And I think that a lot of times people forget about the communities that have existed and lived in rural North Carolina, particularly in the Black Belt region of our state in Don Davis's district. And I think that we have to be communicating to all of those voters, because we also are leaving behind Black communities in our party right now that need to hear us. They need to hear us. They need to see us out there. They don't need to feel like we've forgotten them and their votes. And for me, it really came from a place of growing up in Roxborough, where I never thought that anybody was a Democrat because no one ever talked about being a Democrat. And
really?
Yeah. And I think that it was really interesting because I've always felt like being here now, like it's my job to sort of be very loud and proud and let people know that it's okay to have differing opinions than some of the loudest voices that may be around you. Right. And when I got to be Person County Democratic Party chair, the first thing that I wanted to do, I came back home in 2021, right? And you talked about that a little bit. And the way in which that I came home was I became the Person County Democratic Party chair, and my local paper editor looked at me and he said, Anderson, don't go bothering with city council elections, because city council doesn't bother anybody. And I was like, well, that's the problem. City council needs to bother people, even in a rural, like red community like Person County. You need to have folks that can speak to the hurt and the pain that people in certain parts of this community are still feeling because they're hungry or they're homeless or they don't have what they need. Like, government should care about what people need and what they don't have right now. Mm-hmm. And we ended up running 3 really amazing Black Democrats to run for city council that year. Okay. And to me, it was exciting to see a part of my community that I had grown up in Roxborough my entire life and never knew really existed. Right. And it was making sure that people there felt like they had representation. And I got to see Shayna Outlaw, who led the Black Lives Matter movement in Person County after George Floyd and everything had happened. And we saw Peter Baker, who is a business owner in Person County. And I saw Cynthia Petty, who is also somebody who had been in local law enforcement her entire career. And we flipped the Roxborough City Council in 2021 from red to blue. And it went to being a majority-minority council for the first time in Roxborough's history. Wow. And looking around at that, and I was like, how does our party not want to chase elections in every place, regardless of what they may look like or what the history of those elections have been? Because you actually don't know how people are going to vote sometimes. And I think especially when you have good community leaders and people that step up. And so that's what we tried to do this year. And I think that we saw that across the board for municipal elections in North Carolina in 25. We had historic wins for people like you have Billy Carter out there in Louisville, who became the first Black mayor of Louisville this year. And Forsyth County got to see some amazing and exciting things. Mickey Smith is now on the Jacksonville City Council and Onslow County. And people just thought, like, they were like, Onslow County's red. You're never going to get somebody on that city council. And Tanyetta Hill, who was their county party chair, was like, yes, we can. We can do this together. And I think that the amazing, Wake County alone had historic wins too across it for their municipal election. Shout out to Wesley Knott, who's my county chair out there. The WRAL headline was like, it's a bad night to be a Wake County incumbent Republican. And I say that because it really was across the board. It wasn't just in rural, right? But it was also in urban communities that we saw these wins. But I do think it's really important for us to be not ceding any ground to a Republican Party right now. And so we're trying to make sure all of our rural counties have people running for state house and state senate. You gave that statistic earlier about we've recruited in all 170 or 168 out of 170 seats in 2024. We want to go for all 170 out of 170 in 26 because we want everybody everywhere to feel like they've got somebody to vote for, not just people to vote against,
That's right. That's all right. All right. Ooh, see, guys, I'm feeling inspired and energized. That's what we need young people to be in the mix, doing great things, awesome things. Let's see. Somebody has another comment here. I've been gerrymandered so much. And when I try to figure out, I get dizzy. And Shoei is in the great state of Michigan.
It happens too, right? People, and that's sort of the reason why Republicans gerrymander or that gerrymandering exists is because, when you feel disconnected from government. And in North Carolina, they have used, in my opinion, they've used gerrymandering, right, as voter suppression tools, because in every way, when your elected official changes every 2 years and you're supposed to know who represents you. Because you're supposed to be able to call their office, right? You're supposed to be able to say, hey, like, I didn't get my Social Security check this month. There's something wrong with my passport. When can I get my VA benefits? There's so many things that that people don't realize your government is supposed to be able to do for you. And Republicans have made a living off of saying that government is ineffective. And I'm like, yeah, it's ineffective when you have gerrymandered seats, when you have people who do not have to represent the folks that they actually serve at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I like this, what Michael says. The NC Democratic Party has the wind beneath their wings. Yes, especially with Anderson. And I hope they take advantage of that amazing opportunity. I do too, Michael. I do too. The Senate and governors and lieutenant governors race. Yeah, but Donald, we need to win it all, because as you see, the state, we have those seats, but the problem is our state legislature is jacked up. And that's another thing. They have taken so many things away from our governor, from the power of the elections, of the general elections board. And now they have the nerve to say, they took away early voting from North Carolina A&T University, the country's largest HBCU, and definitely, I mean, period.
You know what, Pam? Republicans gonna regret that though. I told her, I said, man, we're gonna organizations that come out of the woodworks to put buses on campus to bus people to those polls, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna be out there handing out a flyer that says Republicans think that you won't do this right now.
Right.
They think you won't hop on the bus, and I'm like, I think they, and in every way, right? Because to your point, and so just so folks understand, right? A&T. Republicans now control the county and the state board of elections in North Carolina. Boards of elections in North Carolina are important because they decide where polling locations go, how long they're open, when they're open, everything under the sun, right? They make what we call a county voting plan. And usually, right, Democrats have controlled the governor's office, so they've controlled those boards. And Republicans in the state legislature passed a bill last year that said no longer is it the governor's powers, it's the state auditor's powers.
I know, the state auditor. I mean,
the election they didn't win last year, you know, like, or they won last year.
Yeah.
And I think that people just, they're kind of missing the marker on being able to describe, like the press right now is sort of saying like these sites got taken away. And I'm like, yeah, because Republicans want to disenfranchise young people from voting.
Right.
They fear the fact that we are going to come out in droves in this election cycle. And honestly, we've just got to be there to out organize them because there's not a lot of recourse for taking away those voting sites, especially when we don't have the courts in our favor too. And that's why
the Gen Zs to move it and to make it happen. And I believe that you guys are going to do it. In fact, I'm going to say this to you, Anderson. I believe that your generation is going to be considered one of the great ones. You know, just like the men and women that served in World War II and that type of thing, because you all are constantly having to fight. You know, you are. And it's just been a fight. I mean, listen, you guys have been through COVID.
I think we all having to fight though, Pam. You know,
we are. But I'm just saying that I am. You all aren't being complacent because I guess maybe I'm just fortunate to be around a lot of Gen Zs that are just with it and trying to do stuff. And I'm like, hey, I'll work with you, whatever, beside you, whatever, however, let's make it happen.
That's where I'm like, I think we have a lot of good cross-generational help at this moment. Like I couldn't have made it throughout the last 4 years if I hadn't had somebody telling me that they would help mentor me, that they would help guide me. And I think that I'm lucky to have people like you, Pam, in this party, you know? That's what I think.
Yeah, I strongly believe in that cross-generational, intergenerational mix. I am a strong proponent of that. And I think more of that needs to happen, particularly on the federal government level. All of these octogenarians that are in office, wonderful. My mother's 89 and she is with it. She just resigned from her police county commissioner's president's role. I mean, she does all kinds of stuff, and she keeps up with the news and she does all the stuff. She's hilarious. But the thing is, I said, Mom, who do you have coming behind you? She said, they're too lazy about that. And I'm like, but Mom, it's got to be somebody that, you need to be bringing somebody up to see what you're doing. Cause she did robocalls and all of this stuff. But anyway, you know what? Let's talk about the North Carolina makes national news all the time for all of our beautiful places to visit and vacation and all of that good stuff. But we've had it really rough that it made big national news with that state Supreme Court and Allison Riggs, Justice Allison Riggs. That thing, I couldn't believe it. And who would even want that dude? I deliberately have forgotten his name. I can see his face. Who would even trust him as a judge when he can't even be fair on something so basic as numbers? You know? No, you guys organized and helped Justice Allison Riggs make it through that situation, because that was months.
It was North Carolina. For any of y'all in the state, we had the longest and the last uncertified election of 2024 that ended in March of 2025. Basically, we went through a 6-month court battle to be able to hold a victory for Justice Allison Riggs, who, when I was talking about earlier, won that seat by 734 votes out of 5.5 million cast in the state. So if you all think that your vote doesn't matter, I promise you it did. And we were there to count every single one of them that came in for her. And we were amazed to work with incredible partners, people like Carolina Federation and A. Philip Randolph, who were helping make sure that we were curing ballots at the end of last year, because we wanted to make sure that every vote had counted and everyone knew that they could in that way, or knew that their vote could count if they had fixed something on it, or if they had gone up and done their proof of residency or something like that at the Board of Elections. But what you all should take away is that Republicans are going to use every election tactic that they can to try to subvert democracy whenever they can. And that's what we learned. And so the NCDP, along with Justice Riggs and our partner organizations, went to federal court, and we had to defend, a victory that we shouldn't have had to. They were trying to retroactively throw out 68,000 ballots of people in North Carolina. A lot of those being places like Durham County, Miss Pam.
Yeah, we know.
Y'all were targeted a little bit out there.
Oh yeah. They try to mess with the D. They better stop. That's all I can tell them.
That's it.
They better stop.
They targeted 5. They picked votes out of 5 counties in North Carolina that were some of the largest and heaviest leaning Democratic counties to throw out military and overseas voters' ballots with. So they tried to change the rules of the election after the game was played, right? Always. And they couldn't get away with it. They lost. There was a Trump-appointed federal judge that said, no, this victory is certified, and we're going to go ahead and put Allison Riggs up there back on that bench.
Right.
And now what we're dealing with, though, and for anybody watching this, you can go to pull up your phone or maybe go to a website while you're sitting there listening to it, but ncdp.org/repair.
ncdp.org/what?
Repair. REPAIR.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat for people. Okay, there you go.
Go and check. Make sure that your vote and your voter registration is not being challenged by Republicans right now in the state of North Carolina. So after we won Justice Riggs's victory, Trump's Department of Justice came in and sued our state board of elections to purge the voter rolls in North Carolina of the 80,000 people that fit the qualifications of the challenged voters that had just been challenged in Justice Riggs's fight. And so that website takes you to the State Board of Elections website, where it's a registration repair list. Some people need to, quote unquote, correct their registration. It is as easy as going to your county board of elections office and making sure that you give them it's usually the last 4 digits of your social security number or your driver's license number that is sometimes missing from folks' voter registration. And they want to make sure, and we want to make sure that you fix that before 2026, because folks will make you vote provisionally if you have not. And so
we don't want to do that. We want to be on it. Done. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to read this one comment here from Cynthia A. Johnson. Background: Cynthia A. Johnson was a state representative in the state of Michigan, and Trump targeted her. And you remember when they did all that, when Rudy Giuliani went to Michigan and talked all that trash about about the voting machines there and all that crap. She got caught up in all of that. So,
thank you, Johnson, for what you do for our party. We appreciate you.
Yeah, she's no longer in office anymore, but because they ended up changing her.
They're actually calling her honorable, right?
yeah, but who knows? And then she's a fighter. She's saying that is exactly my position. I think it's a mentorship. I can't do those things that I used to be able to do. So I have knowledge, and I will share everything I have with those who I know are trying to work hard and do the right thing by people, regardless of who they are. I applaud both of you. I'll just sit back. She never really sits back. And then she has, let's see, another message here. Hey, Pam, you remember the recount that they had for me in 2018? I won by 6 votes. So yes, every vote, 6 votes. And now let me tell you this, Anderson, that is the one thing that I'm so disgusted with my hometown. The voting turnout is atrocious. Yeah. I mean, even for the mayoral election, it was a big deal because a woman won in Detroit. But what's interesting, it was just, I mean, just so many people don't vote. They don't vote. I don't know what it is or what we can do. What's the magic sauce to get people out to vote?
Make it easier to vote, right? I mean, that's what I think Republicans have done. They've really figured out the secret sauce to being able to say, if we wanted everybody to vote, we'd make Election Day a federal holiday. We would do the things that allow people to actually go and do what they need to, right? Even with early voting, the election polling hours for that only last until 5 p.m. Usually, if you work a 7 to 5 p.m. job every day,
you can't do it.
No, and I think even going on the weekends, some of the Board of Elections have closed Saturday and Sunday voting in North Carolina. They haven't made it. And so Election Day really is one of the days where I think you have until 7:30 at night. You can get off work. You can go to the polls. But I think that it's harder for people, right, to remember to go vote on that one day sometimes. And so I think constantly reminding people of it. But North Carolina, what I will say, we saw historic turnout for municipal elections this year in North Carolina.
Yes.
And part of that, I think, was driven by what's happening nationally, right?
Yes.
And I think the more and more that we see national politics start to encroach on local politics is you're going to start to see people pay more attention. But I do think that a lot of people could not tell you who the 5 city council members that they have are, or their 5 county commissioners sometimes. And that's me. I'm like, we got to look more local as a party and as a group of people, right, than just looking up all the time.
I keep trying to tell people that all of politics are local. They really are. Because all of the main issues that you fuss about every day are local. I happen to work in a government entity and doing communications. And hunty, that SNAP debacle.
Yes.
OM and the GGG. That was a hot mess. And if it were not for our county government being what it is, I don't know. We couldn't have been able to give out some food cards to people and do all of the stopgap types of stuff we attempted to do. But just in Durham County alone for SNAP, the amount of money that we would have lost totally on benefits is $6 million just for Durham County. Imagine that. Imagine that nationwide. Imagine what Mecklenburg's would have been.
I mean, it still will be. I mean, right, January 30th is coming up quick, and the federal government has also got to decide again on a budget. And I think that right now what we're seeing is Republicans are willing to say people deserve to go without food. And I've never known that to be to be honest with you, too, I've never known that to be a godly position on anything. And
those good Christians, they forgot the word. That Jesus would pass right by them. Please, with that foolishness. Michael says the GOP has self-inflicted wounds, and I believe they are mortal. The North Carolina Democratic Party needs to concentrate on unity because they have the momentum to succeed statewide for the first time in a long time. Thank you, Michael. In Detroit, you can vote absentee or early. Citizens are apathetic. Voting is easy. Yeah, I just
maybe we need to send some folks down to North Carolina from Michigan and let them see how it is down here. That's honestly one thing that I would love to be able to do is let people see somebody else's person. Like if you're in urban North Carolina, like if you're in Durham right now, I'd love for people to come knock doors in Roxborough and like vice versa and let people see how it is living in another place. Because I think that's what honestly changes people is when they get to hear a perspective about how hard it is for people to vote in certain places. Because I think you're right. Sometimes people do take it for granted, right? How easy it can be or how accessible it can be in certain states, especially if they're states.
Yeah, and another thing that's the reason why I even started this show, because Latasha Brown of Black Voters Matter kept saying you all have to do something. I said, well, I'm gonna do something because I'm always fussing and talking about this stuff. So I did this show like an educational thing, because what I know is that if people engage with you live like this, you retain it. And then you're more likely to pass it on. Oh, I heard that lady say this. And then if people, and everybody doesn't have to be a big rock star or anything, because it is so amazing the things I've learned. I have learned so much doing this show. Really.
And also, Pam, I bet you've helped other people in your life. Like I tell folks ask me, they're like, what can I do, Anderson? I don't have time to knock doors. I can't make phone calls. I can't do X, Y, what can I do? And I said, you can help educate your own social media about our candidates. Because
I do that a lot. I do that.
Really? It's such a powerful, like, people are self-selecting where they get their media from and where they get their information from. And the number one place that people get it from right now is their friends and their family and the networks that they find themselves in. Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. I think you're sharing it with folks that have known you for a while and folks that are just finding you right now too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Cynthia again. If banks trust us with PIN-protected debit cards to access our money, why can't America trust citizens with PIN-protected access to our own votes? Very good point.
And this is interesting.
Forgot the word. Have they ever read it? No, Dawn. They read the Trump Bible. That's why they don't know it. And Shoei, you got a whole Lord. It's hard to find Gen Z or whatever. I'm 70. I got the anti-war. I don't. Okay, Shoei. Shoei gets. I'm gonna have to have people do like a call in for the show because sometimes they start writing books on the thing. Say this, but I do not trust mail-in ballot system.
Well, Republicans have been trying to take away mail-in voting for a while. We just saw them threaten that. It was wild in every way.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. So Anderson, we don't have a budget still in North Carolina. I think, I don't know if Pennsylvania got theirs yet.
They did. We're the last state.
Oh my God. So we are the only ones that don't have one. And these idiots said we're not going to get one till 2026.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when the money runs out? I mean, the teacher, I don't know. Everything is gone.
North Carolina is a little bit different than the federal government, right? When we don't pass a budget, it's not that our government shuts down. It's that our government goes back to it's called like a continuation budget, basically. And it goes back to the same budget that you had the last year. Right. And what it does, right, is it doesn't account for raises. So teachers and public employees, state employees across North Carolina right now, state employees make up 750,000 people in this state. So out of the almost 11 million folks that we have, about 1 million of them are state employees right now, which means that they have gone without a raise and that they are also right now seeing their health care copays raised right now from Republicans in the legislature. Right. And so we've also then gone the capital projects, any sort of funding crisis that we have right now does not get solved because Republicans cannot pass a budget. And what's crazy to me is that Josh Stein, our good old governor, right? Yeah. Had said, he asked House Democrats to pass the House Republican budget because he said that included teacher raises. And you know what, Democrats, we ain't asking for everything. We're negotiating, right? We're sitting there saying, look, we know that y'all have got control over this. We know that we need teacher raises and state employee raises in the state right now. We are number 3, right, for like one of the worst, or the third in the Southeast for like worst teacher pay. It's insane, right? We do not pay people enough. The starting salary for a teacher in North Carolina is $41,000. Mm-hmm. The starting salary for a teacher in Mississippi right now is $41,500. Mississippi pays their starting teachers more than North Carolina does, and we didn't go lower than Mississippi. Lower than Mississippi, you know. Ooh. And it's unfortunate, to be honest with y'all, because my sister's a 7th grade science teacher. And I don't know many people that don't know a teacher, that don't have one in their family, in their life, somebody that, you see what they do. You see what they go through. They deserve to have what they need right now.
Absolutely.
And we have a legislature that said, Josh Stein said, pass the House budget. And they did. And House Republicans and Senate Republicans are fighting right now with each other. They cannot come to an agreement within their own party about what should be a priority of a fiscal fiscal funding in North Carolina right now. I know, Pam.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. They call us children, and I'm like, there's some adults in the room.
Really. Those able to vote, the results are still going to be the same. I don't know, Dwayne. It might. No, it won't. If everybody's not. I don't know.
I was going to say, I don't think that everybody right now would look at you and say that they love Democrats or Republicans. I think people would say that they are looking to vote for somebody who inspires them and speaks to what they need right now. Right. And I think that a lot of people are, y'all just saw, I mean, you know, Trump sitting in the Oval Office with our mayor of New York yesterday. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of commonalities, right? And they talked a lot about affordability and the messaging there to me. And so I don't know. I think that people right now want to see change.
Right. But you know what I think? One thing we have to remember is that I really believe that Trump really has dementia. And that sometimes he, you know, and also too, Trump likes winners.
He does.
And Mondami is a winner. And so it's kind of like he's really into that statusy thing. Looks, how well you won, how you blew them out of the water. So he respects that, but it won't last because, you know, he never respects people for long.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. Okay, Renee. Mississippi beat.
I know, Renee. Ain't that just not to shade Mississippi. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, but
no, because Mississippi did good this year. I couldn't believe it.
And this part, right? Mississippi broke Republican states or supermajority, right? And there's state Senate. And I think it's incredible to be able to see that fight coming from the South. But North Carolina was known, and if you're in Eastern North Carolina, right, in CD1, then you know the history of people like Terry Sanford and Jim Hunt in North Carolina, our two former Democratic governors who, you know, Jim Hunt was called the education governor.
Because when I moved here, Governor Hunt was the governor. Mm-hmm. And I really, you know, and I was like, what happened? You know, all of a sudden, because I mean, he was all, I knew that. And he would come to different places and meet the people and talk to the people. The whole Hunt Institute now.
Mm-hmm. And he cared about education because it showed businesses, right, that this is the safe place for you all to come to. It's the new South. It's a place where we want economic development to come to North Carolina, so the people of North Carolina do not have to leave it to go to other states to make something of themselves. And I think the concept of opportunity for everyone should be something that's not political or partisan. It's just widespread, right?
Absolutely.
And Republicans have really, I think, taken that back with what they have done to public education across our state right now. The defunding of it, the demoralizing of it, the demonizing of it that they have done. It's not right. And I don't think that anybody right now across the state necessarily appreciates that rhetoric too.
Well, I'm going to pick up on that and talk about the fact that we don't have a budget and therefore we're in violation of the Leandro law. Explain to the people what the Leandro law means here in the state of North Carolina, how it came about.
Yeah, Leandro is a case. It's been this is the 31st year, right, that Leandro has been a court case that has been going back and forth. And basically trying to reframe it from Leandro right into a public school budget, right, that North Carolina state constitution guarantees every child the access to a sound basic education. And that's honestly what Jim Hunt did when he said, we're going to become the first in education state in so many ways, not just first in flight. And Leandro was a court fight that about 5 counties throughout North Carolina, 5 families from 5 counties in North Carolina, and one of those being Halifax, one of those being Cumberland. And if you know Representative Rodney Pierce at all in CD1,
he's been on the show before.
My good old rep is a Leandro kid. He's somebody who was part of that first and initial lawsuit that it came from 4 of those were rural counties throughout the state.
Hope was part of it too. Hope County too.
Hope, Cumberland, Halifax.
And it's one more. I can't.
No, I was like, I want to say Northampton, but I'll be honest with you. It sounds bad that I can't remember it right now.
No, that's Robeson and Vance.
Robson. Yes.
Robinson. Yeah.
Robinson County. Because basically what they were saying is that our kids are not getting that benefit. The state legislature is not funding or fully funding our schools whatsoever. And so they took them to court. And basically Leandro is saying that there are billions of dollars that are owed to our public school system in North Carolina, and that we need to be able to fully fund our schools. And the Leandro decision currently sits, right? It is in court still, and it's at our Supreme Court right now. The North Carolina State Supreme Court could decide any day to force our state legislature to fully fund our public schools based on our state constitution. And they have held that decision all year long. They may hold it longer than that, but it truly is one of the most egregious acts that I think we're seeing in political history. And so many people, I think, are not like tired, but I think the reason why you don't hear a lot about Leandro is because it's been 31 years for people to see that. And I'm like, yeah, which means we should be louder about it than ever. It's been 31 years since this court case was brought before them. And families in these 5 counties have been waiting, right? 31 years for justice for their communities in so many ways.
Yeah. I applaud them for putting forth that lawsuit because they were from poor counties. Yeah. And they said, listen, we can't afford all the bells and whistles or whatever. We don't have the tax base.
Yeah.
But we all deserve a public education that should be equal to everyone else in the state.
Yeah, and it's our right. It's guaranteed to us by our state constitution. And if we want to say that we want to follow and we want to uphold the Constitution, we have to do that. And I feel like our Republicans in the state legislature should be willing to.
Absolutely. So I'm loving this. The Young Democrats of Wayne County. What cities are in Wayne County? I don't know.
What, Goldsboro?
Okay, I got it. I've been in Wayne
County. Help me out with the other ones. I was like, Goldsboro's out there.
That's where the what's that Air Force base? Is it what is the Air Force? I think that Seymour Johnson is there. I think.
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Okay, a question for Anderson. For the folks down here in Wayne County, what can we the people do to make our voices heard in Raleigh? All right.
Come on up. Let's do Dorian Palmer, who is give him a shout out on this. Dorian's my fantastic coalitions director for the state party. And Dorian does pack the gallery events. And so whenever the state legislature is in session, trying to make sure that we get people to Raleigh. But I think it'd be a great idea for y'all to come and be able to do that, one of those with him. The Democratic Women of North Carolina sponsored one. They got all of their members to come out and do a pack the gallery with us, especially when Republicans are taking bad votes. That to me is a great way. And then always we need people to show up to press conferences and everything else too. So that is also something where we just love to host y'all and have y'all in Raleigh. So, and what I would say, Goodwin House is the NCDP headquarters. It's in Raleigh and on Hillsborough Street. So
yes,
everybody is more than welcome to come by. That is the people's house, in my opinion. It's supposed to be y'all's house too. So
yeah, it's a beautiful house too.
Beautiful.
Yes, okay, you guys, please like and share this video with others. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. It's free. It's a free way to support. All right. Let me go back to what other comments do we have? You know what? Some other big issues here in North Carolina that we have to deal with, a concern with, of course, healthcare. I'm really worried about that myself because we just had Medicaid expansion in North Carolina, and it's been wonderful. People are getting help that they need. I mean, it's wonderful. Yeah. And so now with everything that's happening on the federal level and what have you, you know, what's happening?
Time is going to tell, Pam, to be truthful, but we just saw Republicans basically cut healthcare access for the 600,000 people that got access to it with Medicaid expansion. So when Medicaid expansion passed in North Carolina, it was bipartisan. It was the governor and the Republican state legislature that had to make it happen. And Phil Berger, that lovely man that I talked about earlier, right? He had held up Medicaid expansion in North Carolina for a decade. He had said, I don't believe that this needs to happen. And finally, Phil Berger relented because he said North Carolina was losing money that it should have been getting from the federal government. And we had lost money for a decade in this state that was owed to North Carolinians and should have been able to have health care. And what I think that we saw was that 600,000 people getting access to health insurance for the first time in their lives by a policy decision that we made was incredible, right?
Yes.
And it should have been. And what we see now is that those same people are going to be basically told January 1, you know, you're going to have to figure out something else. You're going to have to go back on the marketplace. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to afford this on your own. And a lot of people, I think right now are seeing their healthcare premiums rise, right, by 3 to 4 times the amount that they're currently paying. I just said, I was like, the state employees, their copays doubled. And I just think that it is in direct response, right, to this administration wanting to give billionaires bailouts instead of people just health insurance. Like we live in the richest country in the world. You shouldn't have to wonder whether or not you can go to the grocery store or a doctor in a day.
It's ridiculous. Did you see those shady memes that they were posting from the motherland in Africa, saying, "Children, eat your food because the children in America are starving." It was just, it was funny, but I was so disgusted at the same time because they were telling the truth. Because we have done those ads forever for them. Renee says, I heard today that Trumpster has proposed some kind of ACA healthcare expansion to Congress. Of course, he wants to call it Trump something. Congress, and we should hear something early next week about what it is proposed. We'll see. Who knows? It might just be a reiteration of Obamacare with his name on it.
Well, I mean, this thing, Republicans spent decades or a decade trying to get rid of Obamacare too, and they couldn't ever figure out something else that was better than it. And now they have just made, they've gutted the Affordable Care Act in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to see that. And even people that are insured are going to feel that, because people that are insured are going to have their rates go up. Like, this is not going to, these cuts are not going to make the ACA subsidies that we've just lost from this, the Republicans passing a bill in Congress right now for our budget. It does not mean that, anybody is going to be better off at the end of the day. It just means that actually your health insurance is going to be more expensive. And then also people are going to die from not having access to it altogether. And I don't know how anybody would want that.
Yeah. Yep. So, I was told to ask you this question, Anderson, last week. Someone, when they found out you were coming on, they wanted to know specifically, who do you have running against U.S. Representative Virginia Foxx?
So their primaries right now. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. So North Carolina, we've got gerrymandered congressional seats, and this is 2026. We just saw Virginia win R+9 state house and state senate races. I think Republicans everywhere should be scared about the decisions that they have made, and at a ballot box next November. And so there's a primary, and there's one other person that has announced for that seat besides, but Chuck Hubbard, who ran for it last year, is running again. So he's going to be running against Virginia Foxx, and it's you can Google Chuck Hubbard and find his website. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's been another 2 people that have announced in that race. So the state party does not take positions in primaries, much as I think everybody's surprised sometimes, but I promise y'all, we don't. What we do is we give out free vote builder access, which is our database for data services throughout it. So it holds all of our information from previous campaigns within it too. And so we give out free vote builder access to all of our candidates, and my digital team will make a website or a logo for anybody that's running for office right now in North Carolina for free. The only thing that we'll ask you to pay for is just the domain when we hand it over to you after we've made it. And so, and then also we've got a great training department with Christy Boer. If any of you all are interested in running for office, she's got a great training series on YouTube for you to go find out, like, is this for me? Can I do this? What would it take? What's the process for it? Because I think that a lot of times people would make great public servants. They just don't know where to start. And so if you're somebody who is interested in running for office, I'm going to put this in the chat box to you, Pam, so maybe you can put it out to everybody, because this would also be a great way for folks to recommend people to run for office. And if you fill out this form for me, I will make sure to call them and ask them to run. So you don't have to do it yourself.
Okay. All right. I got it. Copy. You put it in the comments. All right. Here it is. There it is, guys. It's coming up. There it goes.
It's just ncdp.org/run.
Yeah, it took the timestamp off it too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Young Democrats of Wayne County, Republicans just want the people to suffer right with Thanksgiving in a couple of days. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But you know that that's Trump's jam. He's a sadist. He likes the more suffering and the pain and better. And then if you grovel to him, he might consider helping you. That's the kind of dude he is. Yeah. A weirdo, complete weirdo. What is this? Girl, please. I've been asked about running. I did go through the North Carolina Institute of Political Leadership. Now they've got it for public things, public, what do they call it? Public leadership now. Because I realize I enjoy politics a lot more than I thought I did. And obviously, I've always paid attention to it. So I don't know. I don't have any time on my hands, Renee. You just started some. Renee has run for office in Texas. She's a native New Yorker. She is in New York now, and she is going to run for an education board in the city of New York. She's a mother of 4 adult children and triplets, 7-year-old triplets.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, time, right?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say honestly, Renee would make a great spokesperson then.
Let me tell you
right now.
Renee is a doula as well. She is phenomenal in maternal health and all that. She's real sharp. I've had her on the show several times. She's a really, really sharp lady. Michigan District 9, Lion Lisa McClain has a strong opponent in Ray Pooley. I don't know who that is in Michigan. You know what? My home state is a lot more purple than I realized. Sometimes you don't realize something until you step away and you're like, ooh. Because we have areas that, as you know, our poor governor had that horrible crime committed against her.
Yeah.
They want to kidnap her and all that stuff.
Governor Whitmer's been through it. Honestly, all of our governors have, though.
They have. But let's talk about something exciting. Roy Cooper for Senate.
Ooh, yeah.
North Carolina Senator. I believe that's going to happen.
Roy Cooper's got a great track record. I mean, he's talking about CD1 again. Come on, Nash County, Rocky Mount. In every way. And I think that people know what he's done for the state. Roy Cooper was somebody who prioritized people's health care, speaking about the topic that you spoke on earlier, making sure that he canceled medical debt for people in North Carolina, ensuring that people had health care access for Medicaid expansion, spent his entire time thinking about that. Also, Michigan, speaking of which, your former state party chair, Lavora Barnes, who led the Michigan Democratic Party, she is from Goldsboro. Fun fact, she's from Wayne County.
What? Oh, that is so funny. Wow.
I thought I needed to put that in there. A plug for my young friends from Wayne County out there. But
I have to have her on the show.
We should do that. But that's the thing. She's from Goldsboro. She's a state party chair though in Michigan. I said, Lavora, when do you come back from Michigan? You come help us out in North Carolina again.
I remember reading something about her. That is interesting. I had a couple of weeks ago. I had State Senator Natalie Murdoch.
Yeah.
State Senator for the state of Indiana. Andrea Hundley.
Yeah.
And they were learning stuff. It was so fascinating, them exchanging, like, you all do that there? You do that? That's all you get paid there? I mean, it was hilarious. And I've had that one other time. I had someone from Michigan, and it was Natalie again that I had on. So it's so interesting I love to have the juxtaposition of different people from, different states and things like that.
Well, maybe I'll try to get me and Lavora on, or like y'all can do one together.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we would love it. We would love it. Absolutely love it.
Talking about mentors and people like that for me. It was Lavora Barnes and Ben Wickler, Ben Wickler was the state party chair in Wisconsin at that time last year. And both of them really helped me in this job and helped me get started. So I credit Lavora for taking me under her wing in a lot of ways.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. However,
we know they're going to attack Roy Cooper, Michael. They ain't got nothing else on him, though. Trust me.
They don't.
What y'all gonna do? We're gonna pull out. Michael Watley is the guy who's running against Roy Cooper.
Oh, he's
He spent his entire life being an oil lobbyist.
Really? Like, we really want to hear from him.
No, I said, I don't think we want somebody like that representing North Carolina. Someone who's willing to sell out for the interest of big tech, big oil, and everything else. I don't think we need in the state necessarily.
We just have to effectively, officially. Okay, Dwayne, I hear you. So, listen, we know that we live here in North Carolina. We live in a hurricane-prone state. And so we've got these other issues going on here too. We've got coastal erosion. Deer County struggling with that. They showed on Good Morning America when every time, I mean, we must have lost 3 houses in the ocean or the lakes or whatever it was that. No, ocean here in North Carolina. They were just falling in, and it was just so sad. I don't know if we have anybody that's in our party that is strong environmentalist and maybe can change some of the laws. Look, don't build your houses on the beach or whatever. I don't know.
Unfortunately, though, it's not just climate change, right? Is why you're seeing coastal erosion happen. It's why you're seeing things like Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina happen.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Mother Nature said climate change does not care where you live or what state you live in. It is going to impact your life at some point in time unless we do something about it, and that means curbing reliances on fossil fuels. It means making sure that we are trying to use clean and green energy where we can. And I think we saw a lot of that push right under the Biden administration to get us to a place where we were not as reliant on some of the older forms of energy that we were trying to create and be innovative about what we were doing going forward. And I think that's what we've seen sort of in the party, at least, that from my perspective, is that we have a lot of people that would like to do something about it. I'm thinking of, State Representative Pricey Harrison from Greensboro. She is a phenomenal advocate for our environment. And so are people like Marsha Mori out of Durham, right?
Yes, we know Marsha.
She'd be somebody great to have on here to talk about it, honestly.
I've had her on before. It's been a while. It's like when in my first year or so, I've had her on. I've got to get her back. She was all into those protests with these, that we didn't even get into that conversation with these
Border Patrol.
With the border. What border are they trying to protect? South Carolina or something? I mean, what? Come on.
Rock Hill, baby. Rock Hill. They're trying to protect Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I was like, okay. Somebody said to me, it was a former federal prosecutor from the Biden admin that I was talking to about it. He looked at me and he said, Anderson, they're out there trying to play Call of Duty in Charlotte, apparently. And I was like, that's what it looks like right now. It is not in any way actually getting violent criminals off the streets. And what we saw from a CNN report, right, was that out of the 600 people that they had arrested in Chicago, only 2% of those actually had violent offenses on their records. And I'd rather say, if you go out there and arrest 600 people, I'd rather all of them have a violent record then, and us actually tax the people who do not need to be in this country anymore. But I don't think that's what this administration is set on.
Especially when they're racially profiling everybody. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. Oh, Renee says, and this is a good question, what is happening to North Carolina with the sudden resignation of the acting FEMA director?
I mean, it doesn't change anything, Renee. We still ain't gotten the money that we need from the federal government, unfortunately. And that, I mean, I think it's criminal right now that this administration tried to run on in Western North Carolina the fact that Biden had not done what he needed to do. And we have come in a year later and still not had relief from Western North Carolina. The amount of federal funding that they've gotten is less than 10% of the total amount that they needed to see come back to that region of the state. So it's, I mean, ineffectiveness is what we were seeing from this administration in every way. That doesn't really change.
I don't think that they intend to pay anything. It's like, I mean, he literally said, Trump said that the states can take care of themselves. And I'm like, if that were the case, we wouldn't have had FEMA. I mean, it's just been really ridiculous what they've been saying all the way around, totally. But anyways, we have come to the end. We are not Texas. We don't need Border Patrol. That's right. I have enjoyed you so much, Anderson. This has been great. Great. And we've got to have, I would love that idea of having Barnes is her last name.
Laura Barnes. Yeah,
Barnes.
She's great, and I'll text her and I'll ask her and see if she would be willing to do this, Pam. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But if the two things that y'all take from me tonight are this: we are going to elect Governor Roy Cooper and Justice Anita Earls in 2026.
That's right. That's
and
right.
Also, please make sure that all of your friends and your family are checking to see if their votes are being challenged by Republicans or if their voter registration is on that challenge list that we talked about earlier.
Do other states have challenge lists too that you're aware of?
It is just North Carolina. I mean, the Trump administration has done a lot to challenge voters in other states, but there is nothing like what we have seen in North Carolina in other states. And so they're using us as the trial and error petri dish to be able to say, what can we cook up here that we can maneuver into other places? And so
I see.
All of us are on the front lines, in my opinion, of defending democracy, not just for the state, but for the country next year.
Right.
No pressure, y'all, but let's do it, North Carolina.
That's right. That's right. Cooper and Earls, 2026. That's right, Deb. Amen. That's right. All right. Well, I am so thrilled to have finally had you on. And as you see, I took pictures of you on your first GMA appearance. I sure did. I was proud of you. Very proud of you.
Thank you for doing that and sharing those with me again. I really appreciated it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Anderson. And don't be a stranger. And I'm going to try to get back to that house, to people's house.
We're going to host a little Christmas party this year, or holiday party, I should say, because we're going to have a little something from everybody, all my auxiliary organizations in it. So it'll be exciting.
And your communications chair said you did a great job.
Shout out Amanda, my comms director. She's up here late tonight. Amanda's got a kid to put to bed. Maybe it's something.
I know she does. Thanks, Dwayne. All right. Well, we'll just wave off and say good night.
Bye, y'all.
Good night, everybody.